One thing I genuinely hate about the red pill and red pill movement is just how powerful they make women seem. I was talking about this to my boy Dimitri, and he was the one that actually said it just like that. He said, and this is me trying to paraphrase, hopefully I get it right, but he said, if he were an alien, right, or I'll say it in like I'm him. He said, if I was an alien and I came to the earth and I listened to men in these red pill movements, these red pill spaces describe women, I would assume women were these almighty, all powerful creatures that can do anything they wanted and get away with it. Isn't that ironic though? That the same men, the same red pill dudes who claim to teach you that women are not to be pedestalized are going out of their way on an unconscious level to pedestalize women. How funny is that? But that's life though. That's how it works with these men. When you fear something, you're just as willing or likely to pedestalize that thing as you would if you loved it, right? Because love is the opposite of fear. Love and hate are not opposites. There's love, there's indifference, and then there's fear at the bottom level. That's kind of how it works. Hate is kind of like right there with love. It's just love in a different direction, if you will. So when you fear something, you give it license to have power over you. Whether that thing is a thing, an inanimate object, or just a concept, or women. The thing though is, I don't think the majority of men in the red pill would admit that they are scared of women, even though all the signs point to that very fact. I think the average man in the red pill movement is terrified of women. They're terrified. They're constantly worrying about women and what they might be up to and how they might get one over on them and the different ways and techniques they have to cheat men out of their time and energy and attention and resources. Pathetic, truly pathetic. I think if you waste any time worrying about how evil and malicious women can be, then you need to address the fact that you don't have any real power, not just over women, but in the world in general. The only people that are ever worried about having their power stripped away from them are people that don't have power to begin with. Let that sink in. The only men that would ever worry about how much he has to go out of his way to protect himself from women are men that don't interact with women enough. Because if you actually do interact with women, really understand this creature, get close to them, right? Close enough to smell their hair if you're into that. You'll very quickly realize that these are very fearful creatures themselves. They don't have their shit together. They're almost never emotionally stable. I'm saying almost never. I really should say never, but let me leave room for the outlier that might exist, right? They're almost never emotionally stable, terrified of everything, especially men, right? Terrified. Don't have their shit together, don't know what to do, almost never a sense of direction, can't self govern, almost never no self editing, an ability to stop themselves, right? No discipline. These creatures are too goofy to be scared of. Way too goofy. And that is despite their attempts at trying to hide their intelligence, by the way. There's a great book out there called The Manipulated Man, written by a woman called Esther Villar. And she talks about how women go out of their way to infantilize themselves sometimes to pretend to men that they're not as competent as they really are and fool men into thinking that they're just these dainty little women that know nothing and can be nothing and do nothing and whatever, because it gives them a head start over men, right? Psychologically speaking, it's easier to manipulate a man when the man thinks that he's the one in control. Very true. Shout out to Esther Villar. The thing though is, even despite that information, once you actually peel back the layers of a woman, of women in general, and you figure them out, even the ones that are so-called smart enough to hide their intelligence, yeah, they're still goofy. Not to be disparaging against women. Women are beautiful, amazing creatures. But I get to say that with confidence because I've known them long enough and I understand them deeply enough to say that. I can truly say I love women because I understand what they are. They're not a foreign concept to me. They're not a random being, otherworldly being that I just look out from afar and don't understand. I know this creature. I love this creature. I mean, I'd have to dedicate a good portion of my life to talking about this creature. But I understand this creature enough to know they're not perfect. And so it baffles me when I see men fear them, especially when those men try to convince you and I that they're not scared of them, but they are. It's obvious. It's very obvious. We can see you, bro. We can see you. Whether you're talking down on them and trying your best to act like, you know, these bitches ain't shit, or whether you're pandering to them and bending at the knee and saying everything they want you to say and everything they want to hear. Doesn't matter what side of that coin you're on. You're pathetic. And you need to do something about it immediately. I know it doesn't feel good to get called out. It never does. But it's necessary. Because there needs to be more men like me. There's not enough of us right now. Men who can actually have a balanced, nuanced take on women. It's time for the industry to change. Enough of this baby shit. It's time for some grown man shit. It's from Jason's favorite scientist. With all this information, what you must.